You're listening to the voices behind Women's Cricket Chat. That's Hannah, Georgie, Cassie, Mahika and Alex. Coming up on today's podcast.
Joining us today, we have the wonderful Katherine Bryce, Scotland's superstar, El Capitano, and just all-round superstar legend. So, Katherine, welcome to the podcast, joining myself and Alex today from sunny Scotland?
No, in Loughborough.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So windy and wet Loughborough.
You're used to it. You're Scottish.
I know. I'm used to it. It's a bit warmer, so it's a bit better.
But it's a bit different, I'm guessing, to coming back from Malaysia.
Very different.
Yeah, so you've obviously recently been off in Malaysia with the Scotland side for the Commonwealth qualifiers. Didn't quite go to plan, but how was that as an experience? Obviously, you had to go through the quarantine and all that kind of stuff as well. And then on top of trying to qualify for the Commonwealth Games, what was that experience like?
Yeah, I think it was a brilliant experience for us. It's the first time that we've ever played against Sri Lanka. So that was pretty exciting for us to kind of have that opportunity. And I think even though the scorecards don't look brilliant at times, I think the way that we played our cricket was really exciting. And I think we're definitely moving in the right direction with, like, even though Atapatu just went out there, absolutely whacked it with some ridiculous shots that everyone was just like, that's unbelievable. Kind of after our power play, like chasing their score, we're kind of even with them. So I think there's a lot of positives to take from it, and also kind of playing a tournament in the middle of the winter, which is pretty difficult to kind of go from 3 degrees to 30 degrees to kind of navigate that. It's probably the first tour in a while that we've done in the winter, so kind of preparing for that is a different challenge as well.
And so how did you go about preparing for all of that? Because obviously last summer was absolutely manic. There was so much women's cricket going on. We had 100, we had Hey Ho Flint, we had Charlotte Edwards, and then you had to get back into your Scotland bubble almost and then think, right, it's winter, but we've got this massive thing coming up.
Yeah, I think obviously being down in Loughborough and kind of got all the facilities, training here, and then heading back up every now and again, every month or so, to Scotland to kind of train. And I know that they trained quite a bit with bin bags on as like first layer to get used to being all sweaty and hot, which was pretty disgusting. But just little things like that kind of help you get ready to try and prepare as much as possible and think the little things that you can do to be ready to go away.
And obviously just before the Commonwealth qualifiers, you also played in the T20 qualifiers in La Manga. We know the pitches weren't the best. What was it like for you guys to be there for qualifiers and to actually go on and beat Ireland to win it?
Yeah, I think that was huge for us as a team, like the confidence that we kind of took from that. It's the first time that we've actually won the European qualifiers whilst Ireland have been in it as well. So kind of beating a full member nation in that, it was both tricky pitches and quite a slow outfield as well. So kind of the confidence we took from playing that competition into kind of back into the winter indoor season, kind of then going into the Commonwealth Games qualifiers, I think it was a big kind of stepping stone at the end of that summer.
And I think what that really showed as well is that you say, to beat a full nation like Ireland, it shows, and Scotland really is such a talking point for everyone at the moment. Scotland women's cricket they're massively on the up, and you guys proved just why you're so in the zeitgeist at the moment, didn't you?
Yeah, I think so. And I think even with how Thailand performed a couple of years ago in the World Cup, kind of it's always, for as long as I can remember, it's been the global qualifiers, and Bangladesh and Ireland have qualified, and they've been the last two that go off to the World Cup. And Thailand, I think they maybe lost to Bangladesh in the final, but getting into the World Cup was absolutely incredible to see another nation that actually were really small kind of 3 or 4 years before kind of coming through and developing, and it not being from the men's side either. It was fully like women's cricket, like all the investment was in that. And then they went to the World Cup, and it wasn't just, oh, Thailand are there. They actually put in some really good performances and put some big teams under pressure, which is really exciting. It just shows kind of the depth that there is in associate cricket and how much that's growing.
Yeah, and also just quickly back to the T20 World Cup qualifiers. In the final match, you did hit the winning runs, captain's knock at the end. What was it like for you to be there at the end to win the game for Scotland?
Yeah, I think that was really, really big for me. It's always been one of the things that I want to do, is put in those performances that are not just contributing to the games, but actually match winning performances. And it was pretty tricky going in that first half. But I think some of it was kind of based around the 100 and how you thought about it during that, and with the balls kind of going up and down on the side like that, I just kind of took away the overs and just kind of broke it down and was like, right, 10 overs, it's like 60 balls, 50 runs or whatever it was off 60 balls, and just kind of broke it down like that, rather than thinking we've got this off this many already, just kind of going, this is what we need to get from this, and that's just kind of how I took it from there, and tried to take that kind of positive mindset into the end. And yeah, it was great to kind of be there at the end and get the team over the line. I think there's quite a few nerves in the camp.
And before we break away from talking Scotland and go to all things regional and 100, etc., we talk about Scotland being massively on the rise. What do you think is being done to increase those opportunities, also to retain players in Scotland rather than them leaving for lack of professionalism and the opportunities to go to other places they might be legitimate to play for?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult at the moment with the hit that probably a lot of the associate nations have had with COVID, and the funding that they get through that is probably been more limited in the last couple of years. But for Scotland, the men kind of qualifying for that World Cup at the end of last year, and will be really big for that kind of push to try and get Scotland to kind of become a full member nation. And then hopefully you can start to see there being some sort of contract in like the Scotland women's system as well, which means that you've got the same sort of situation where people don't have to stop playing cricket because they have to get a job. They can actually kind of commit to a few days a week training and being able to continue playing for their country.
And also any opportunity to wear that purple kit.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I know it wasn't quite the Scotland kit we normally see, but iconic.
Yeah, a bit of tartan in there and it would be perfect.
Can you imagine? Oh, just a little dash. Somewhere thereabouts. But obviously you do captain the side, and you're not exactly an old one. So what's it like to be such a young person, but with so much responsibility? And I know you've been around cricket for such a long time now. You were associate player of the decade last year, which is basically like almost half your life that decade anyway. So what's it like to have to put on that captain's mindset and be like, right, guys, come on, this is where we go from here, even though I'm not that old, if you get what I mean? Yeah,
I think that's definitely been something that I've learned a lot over the last couple of years, probably, is that kind of looking into the next steps and pushing more for what we want as a team, and that it kind of goes beyond just what we're doing on the pitch as well, and kind of taking that responsibility to fight for other players and what they need, and knowing that you've kind of got that power to go and help them. And I think that's definitely, as I've grown as a person and got a bit older and learned a lot more over the last few years, I think that's definitely come into the captaincy. And it's probably at the start you kind of see other captains or you've got an idea of what you think a captain should be, rather than it necessarily being who are you as the person and being the captain that suits you as a personality, rather than trying to fit what a captain should be, sort of thing. And that's definitely something that's developed over the last couple of years.
I guess it's about finding your groove in the same way a coach would.
Yeah, I think so. And it's like that, a bit of that identity as well, and not trying to be someone else. And actually, like a coach, it's like figuring out what's your philosophy, what do you really believe in, and what, I think if you believe in it more, and it's something that really is true to you, then you can just like live it every day. And it's a lot easier to do that rather than trying to do what you think is the right thing to do.
And having so much captaincy experience, it must be nice to have a vice captain who you have so much trust in, because we've seen instances where the captain and vice captain have fallen out. But for you, luckily enough, your vice captain is your sister. So tell us a little bit about that working dynamic.
Yeah, I think we've always really played together. So it was actually quite strange when we were on different teams. So yeah, I think it's always great to work with someone that you know well and that you trust, it, and actually she'll challenge me as well when she thinks something's not right or ask different questions, whereas sometimes people are like, just kind of leave you to it and things like that. So I think that relationship we've got on the pitch as well is really good, and probably grown as well in the confidence that she's got over the last few years, and she'll definitely tell me when she doesn't think something's not right. So it's great to have her on the pitch to help out.
Do you find quite a lot of pride in seeing her grow as a player, sort of under your wing, and you're the big sister, but also the captain, and having her on the side with you there. Do you give her tips, or is she a bit like, oh, shut up, Katherine?
Yeah, no, not too many tips. I think you kind of have that understanding, having played with her for so long, of what she actually needs to get the best out of herself, and little things here and there, and knowing when the right time is to have the conversation. But yeah, just a lot of pride as well. If I've got out and watching on, just kind of seeing her go out there and really perform. And I think I'm more nervous. It's a lot better when we're batting together, because you've got something else to focus on and you're out there in the middle and you can kind of forget about it a little bit. But when you're on the side watching her batting, it's probably much more nervous than when I'm out there I'm trying to do it. So yeah, definitely the pride in seeing her kind of achieve and come into her own as a player as well.
And so the two of you obviously at Scotland together, but not together in the 100 last year. What was it like to pull on two different jerseys? And how did your parents decide which outfit to wear?
Yeah, it was really difficult, actually. It was strange. I think we were thinking the only other time that we've played against each other was one county game, Notts v Warwickshire, quite a few years ago, and that was a bit strange. So it's the first time that we've ever been in a different team. So that game was rained off in the end, so I still don't really know exactly what it would be like in the competition to play against there. But I think it was hardest, for the parents, knowing what they were going to do. So Dad came up with the theory that he was going to have both hats on, and whichever way the wind predictor was going, he was going to put that one on top. So he was supporting both teams, just wanting both of us to do well, but no specific outcome at the end of it.
And we did actually happen to meet both your parents at the final of the 100, and they were the loveliest people ever. Your dad was there with his camera. It was so heartwarming to see, and he was just beaming with pride.
Yeah, definitely. They've always travelled around when we've played, because a lot of the stuff that we played, like Scotland under-17s, was all down south, and they came to so many of those games, took us to every training and things like that. And they're still, I think that was probably one of the hardest years a couple of years ago when we started back after COVID, and they were having to watch the live streams and seeing the ball go up in the air and having no idea what was happening. So to kind of be back at Lords as well, Dad taking us to a few kind of masterclass weekends when we were quite young to go for a weekend camp there. So I think to see her playing at Lords was, I absolutely loved it, and definitely took lots of pictures, which I'm not sure where they are, but he's got them all on his camera.
And how was it for you to have to watch her play in the final and lift the trophy, and wasn't quite there for the Trent Rockets?
Yeah, it was obviously disappointing for us not being there, but being able to kind of sit in the crowd and kind of take it in and experience what I guess a lot of people have been talking about for over the last 4 or 5 weeks that had been, being able to sit in the crowd and enjoy the game. And I think it was a bit nervous the day before. Everyone was like, it's just going to rain, it's going to be a horrendous day, but the sun came out and it was a bit nervy to start off with, but it was incredible to be able to watch her kind of lift the trophy and kind of walk around with her medal on, and just so happy with that bowling performance by Cappy at the start was absolutely incredible. So to be able to see that as well was brilliant.
And compared to some of the other teams, Trent Rockets was predominantly Lightning players, so it must have been nice to play with your teammates from the regional setup. And also, what was it like to bowl with England bowling great Katherine Brunt and BKB squared, and to play alongside the wonderful Nat Siver?
Yeah, no, it was amazing. It's great to have that experience with that mix, like you said, of people that you train with all year round, but also having other great players kind of coming in. But yeah, just to kind of play and chat to the likes of Katherine Brunt about her career and what she does and what she's thinking, and just that passion that she has in every kind of fight that she goes out there, and just kind of seeing that in someone that's played the game for such a long time was just incredible. And then obviously Nat as well, and all the overseas were absolutely brilliant in creating such a great environment as well, in just being willing to share their knowledge and kind of get involved and really be part of the team as well, which made it such a good experience.
And the experience as a whole for the inaugural 100, what was that like for you? Because it was quite a landmark summer for women's cricket in general, but then something like the 100 with the standalone match to begin with, and just all those televised games, everything on the radio. What was that like to be part of? And have you seen that that's still built into this year? And it looks like women's cricket is still massively on the up.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was just something that grew and grew throughout the competition. So if Sarah was involved in the first ever game at the Oval, and she said like the overseas were like, that's one of the best atmospheres kind of that they'd ever been involved in. So I think you kind of were aware that it might be pretty exciting, but I think it just grew and grew from the start, and you see more and more people coming in earlier in the game and really kind of being invested in it, but also like there's having so many kids kind of running around with their Trent Rockets t-shirts on and with all their match tack cards and things, and trying to find the people to sign them, and kind of the excitement that they had from that was, it was just brilliant. And I think when especially if you got to field second and you're out there, you definitely felt like the oohs and the cheering and everything like that was just...
Now, is that the oohs or the boos?
The ooh ooze.
Ooze caused by booze, but then also booze caused by booze.
When there was just like the fielding, there was like a fumble or like a close run out, and there's like it was just, you could definitely tell it wasn't people not just sat there, they're actually watching the game and kind of reacting to what was happening. Some of the biggest cheers, I mean, it wasn't the best for us, but it was when we were at Edgbaston and fielding second and Bonnie was hitting those sixes, just like the massive cheers from the Holly stand as it was gradually getting a bit rowdier through the middle of the afternoon. But yeah, just things like that you just kind of realise how incredible it was.
I wanted to ask you specifically, how did you find bubble life? Because we've seen players not be able to cope and it really take a toll on their mental health. Like we've seen Glennie have to pull out of the England World Cup squad because she wants to put her mental health first. So I wanted to know how you felt about bubble life.
Yeah, I think it was quite difficult. I think for a lot of it, like when we're away with Scotland, quite lucky having someone like Sarah as well, where it's kind of some quite familiar, and just kind of having those people around you and trying to get out and do as many little things to kind of break up the day as possible, rather than just kind of sitting with yourself. And you can quite easily just sit on Netflix and half the day's gone, but trying to find things to do. And I think luckily in the 100 at least it was a bit more open, like you could go out and manage to play a bit of golf and things like that to kind of get out of the hotel a little bit. So I've not found it too bad. I've get on, just keep myself occupied quite well, but I know it's been like a real struggle for lots of different people, and it's just having that escape, and it's not necessarily going and doing anything, but just kind of being sat there and knowing that you can't go and do anything else has definitely been a real struggle. So hopefully we're kind of moving away from that a bit, but just awareness of how difficult it is, and having some more kind of protocols or things in place ready to help people when they're in those situations as well.
And have you seen things like mental health support? Have you seen changes in that during your time in the sport, and there being more support and more people talking about it? And do you think it's helped that the women's game is getting so much more coverage now, that it is getting that kind of support that it's always deserved?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely like there's been a lot more conversations around it than I ever remember kind of early on in my career. And the awareness of it from people that haven't been through the struggles as well, I think is one of the biggest things. I think it's easier when you've been through mental health struggles to recognize that people are struggling and kind of take from those experiences. But I think the people that haven't been through it, being wanting to go out and be able to help people in the best way possible, I think even just opening up that conversation and people knowing that it's kind of a safe place where you can talk about it. I think it's probably been one of the hardest things over the last couple of years, not just with COVID, but also like we're moving into a more professional environment where actually you're not just going out there and you're now being paid to do what you're doing. So actually there's so much more pressure on you to perform. And I think there's probably been more struggles in terms of you're now being paid to do this, so the expectation is higher. And how do you help people kind of through that transition into the professional side of the sport as well? And
in a sense, do you think the media plays a role in that, in the sense that if they go too negative on a player, it can seriously affect their performance, or if they praise someone too highly and then they have a bad day and it just goes to pot? Yeah, I think it definitely can work both ways, and with the growing exposure of it, and
it's a good thing that there's more availability. More people can watch games, but actually it means people out there that have seen what you do, and if it doesn't go well, there's people that can sit behind a keyboard and tell you that you've not done very well. And when you've been around for a long time, you've probably seen a lot of different tweets and things like that. You can ignore them, but I think at this level that a lot of the girls will have never experienced that sort of thing before, so you do see every tweet that you get mentioned in and everything like that. So it does come to you. And I think it also, yeah, like you said, when people just get bigged up a lot, kind of you don't know kind of how that kind of takes a toll on the expectation that they then have, and it can be pretty difficult. But I think the media has also been really good in kind of raising the awareness in this stuff as well, so I think it can work both ways, and it's just finding the right balance. And there's definitely a lot of support from the PCA. They're aware of how much like social media can affect you as players, so kind of equipping you in the best way possible to be prepared for blocking certain words or things like that when you go through it, and just trying to ignore it and filter everything you've got in the best way possible.
And what's your go-to when it comes to like looking after your own mental health? What's your escape? Please tell me you just whip out your violin and your clarinet and you're like, hey guys, remember that I'm grade 8 at both of these?
Yeah, not so much as well, because my violin's at home, so I haven't played it as much. But that's definitely Sarah's. She got a piano in her room at uni, so she just sits down and like whatever mood it is, it's just like gets angrier and angrier as she sat there. So I'll have to get a video of that for you. But I think like getting out and playing golf and just getting out in the fresh air and doing things like, I mean, golf is frustrating sometimes as cricket, but just getting out with friends and doing something a bit different, but also just going out for coffee and just meeting up with different people.
You know, you and Sarah could rival Jemima Rodrigues and Laura Wolfart. That is a fail on Hannah's duty as content creator to not, you know, or even just get it on the Lightning, Twitter, Instagram. That's a failure on Hannah's part.
Yeah, you can blame Hannah for that. She'll have to come and hunt us down.
Yeah, and so obviously you are also part of the Lightning, playing in the Rachel Hayhoe Flint and also the Charlotte Edwards, but then looking back to the KSL days. So what are the changes that you've seen during your time across all three of those?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the hardest transitions, actually, going from the KSL into the RHF and the Charlotte Edwards Cup, is that you kind of think it was sort of similar, but actually when you played those in the Super League, you had your overseas players and you had your England players there pretty much for the whole time. So you had a lot of experience from that, whereas actually kind of we're now the more experienced players that are around all the time. And I think that was probably a bit of a transition, and sort of figuring out how you run a program that's not just 6 weeks long over the winter, over the summer, but actually all the way through the winter, and take you into the summer. So I think there's been a big change, even since last year and into this year, and just figuring out how it works best, because it's not really been done before, having just kind of 5 professional and then 6 contracted players this year. So it's quite a kind of difficulty kind of juggling how you have a few players that are contracted and then also players in your squad that don't necessarily have the time they're working and things like that as well. But we're quite lucky here at Loughborough. There's a lot of the girls that are at the uni as well, so they're a bit more flexible with what they're able to do, and yeah, definitely been a step towards kind of more professionalism. I think the program at Loughborough, even when I was at uni, was pretty professional program. It was like Sal ran it for a long time, so we were kind of used to training a certain number of times a week and gymming and running and all those sort of things. So that's kind of just continued on, and that kind of work and things like that over the last few years.
And with women's sport and women's cricket growing, do you think we'll see more Scottish players play in the domestic league? Like we saw Abtahar play in the 100 and we saw how well she did, absolutely phenomenal. So do you think we'll see more players like her come into the regional setup?
Yeah, definitely. I really hope so. I think it's brilliant to kind of see the talent that there is in Scotland, and just having those opportunities to get out there and play in like the likes of Katherine Fraser, who is like 16 years old but is Scotland's like leading wicket taker in T20 internationals already, is ridiculous. So it's like people like her will hopefully kind of get recognised, and actually people realise that it's not just kind of us who they're from Scotland, but there's a lot of girls kind of coming through and that are there that have the talent that can play in the regional competition as well.
And I just want to throw it back quickly to the Lightning. Life at Loughborough Lightning. Oh, that's a good one.
That's a mouthful.
Life at Loughborough Lightning. You've had a big change over the last year. So new coach, new director. What's that going to be like going into this season?
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting place. It can be a bit scary at times with there being a lot of change. But I guess has done a lot of work mentoring like level 3 courses and things like that before, and has been working with the Lightning Academy as well. So he kind of knows how Lightning's kind of been run over the last year or so, and it's been some really exciting changes over the last year. And there's a new director who's just started recently, and he seems brilliant so far. And from another one from up north, which is always good. So yeah, just that fresh face is just really exciting, and seeing it from someone who's been in the county system for quite a while as well, so understands kind of how to get the most out of the counties that are around Loughborough, and hopefully kind of really bringing together that it's not just Loughborough, but you've actually got Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire and Leicestershire and Lincolnshire, and kind of all coming together and kind of making them feel invested in what we're doing as well.
And how important is it for Lightning to be a standalone brand and have its own identity, completely separate from the university?
Yeah, I think it's difficult because there's a lot of positives of the connection with the university and things like that, but kind of more back to kind of what I just said of actually it's kind of finding how the counties work with that as well, and that different identity that we've got with actually there's players coming through from Nottingham, and kind of really getting them involved from the lower level, and actually how can we go out there and help the under 11s and 13s kind of coming through and really inspire them and kind of drive the programs that they have at that level, and hopefully over the next 10 years or so they're going to be the next players that are playing for Lightning in the future.
And so do we see Loughborough Lightning performing better this season than last season?
I hope so. Yes. Yeah, definitely. I'm always moving in the right direction. So it's been really positive so far. And I think with me and Sarah having been away as well, it's kind of exciting having that opportunity to be able to kind of practice what you've been doing in the first half of the winter for a bit. And Kirsty's been away as well. She's in Australia at the moment as well. So yeah, I think hopefully some exciting performances this year.
Eyes on a Lord's final, which in itself is a big thing, but to be there, what would that be like?
Yeah, I think that would be incredible. Just the fact that it's there in the first place is a huge kind of stepping stone for the competition, and shows kind of the value that it has. So like we saw in the first few years, like actually if we play on good pitches, then it produces higher quality cricket. So hopefully we'll be there playing out in the middle of Lords. If
you could pick Lightning to win at Lords or to win the 100 with a 100 franchise at Lords, what would you go for?
That's a very difficult question.
Both? Would you just go both?
Both. We'll just do both.
We'll just do both.
Then double wins.
Why pick when you could have it all?
Exactly. If you do one, then you've got the ability to do both. So there we go.
Yeah, love that.
I know last season perhaps didn't go to plan for Lightning, but you did end up joint 4th in the 50 over comp. And I believe you did hit, I might not be 100% correct on this, but you did hit 162, which included 21 4s and 2 6s, which I think was the highest score of the Hey Ho Flint 2021. So how thrilled were you to end on a high?
Yeah, that was a brilliant way to kind of finish the season. I think our 50 over campaign was probably better. Well, it's definitely better than our T20 campaign. But yeah, I think there's probably a lot more positives in there, and to kind of come together at the end in the final game and to be able to put in that performance and put it all together to finish off on a high was big for us. And to finish joint 4th, I think kind of shows, I think we were probably more of a 50 over side at that time with the players that we've got. That's probably where our strengths lie more. So that's definitely a big work on to take it into the T20 stuff as well, and hopefully just keep on building from where we were in the 50 over comp.
And as you are now tethered to Loughborough and Lightning for life, who are some of the upcoming players from Lightning and from the national team as well?
From Lightning, who's up and coming? I think Josie Groves, a leg spinner, has come up through the academy, and she played a couple of games last season. I think just really switched on in what she's doing, and I think she'll be really good kind of coming up in the future. So she's definitely one to watch. And then internationally, Katherine Fraser, although she's kind of been people are seeing her already at 16 is absolutely phenomenal. What she's doing, and she's just so switched on in what she's literally just like bowling different balls, and just the confidence that she's got now. And once she grows and gets a bit stronger, she'll be whacking the ball as well. So need to watch out.
So also we had the 100 last year that gave us a lot of opportunity to see that. Who were your standout stars from that?
I think one of the ones I was really impressed with was Kylian Moore from the Northern Superchargers. I'd never really seen her play before, and I don't think she was even in the team at the start. But just to come out and like bowl some absolutely brilliant balls. One of them to get out of Dotton, I think. Just the confidence in that kind of coming in. And I think there's so many youngsters now coming out of that have played a bit of regional cricket and then coming into the things like the 100 and just having that confidence to just go out there and play how they have been playing, which is pretty crazy.
I guess it's about they've been given that opportunity and they've got that freedom now, so they're just loving it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just having training in that professional environment as well for longer, and just knowing that it's just quite a normal thing for them to just go out there and do things like that is pretty exciting.
And I know we've talked a lot about how young you are, but yet you're experienced. We can't have you on here and not talk to you about being part of the ICC Associate Rookie Programme during the WBBL, the Melbourne Stars, and getting to mix with the likes of Meg Lanning. Were you able to pick her brain at all on anything?
Yeah, definitely. I think that was a big experience kind of back then. It was before I played in the KSL or the 100 or anything existed. So kind of having that opportunity to be around a team like that for a couple of weeks and just see her, or like people, and Nat Siver was in that team as well. Just see Meg Lanning like at training and how they went about that kind of competition and kind of preparing for it and what they did. And actually, I think it's quite easy to watch them on TV and just be like, oh, they're amazing. But actually being able to watch them train hard, it doesn't just happen overnight. They actually put the hard work in, and they fail and they try different things at training and things like that. I think that was kind of a big opportunity for me to be able to see what it takes to play in those kind of competitions that I've been able to take in back to Scotland, and then also into the 100 experience as well.
I was just going to say, as an all-rounder and being the captain, you get to choose where you bat. Is 3 your preferred position, or would you prefer to bat a little bit lower down just to give your body some time to not relax, but calm down from bowling absolute out in swingers?
I do enjoy batting at 3. Probably 3 or 4. I don't mind too much, just kind of enjoy being part of it and being able to contribute. And that's kind of what I've always wanted to do, is just be able to do as much as I can for the team. So I do enjoy playing there because it's not too long. I think as a test match, it might be a bit much, but you never know. If you get out, then you can just sit there and have a cup of tea for a while and get ready for bowling. So maybe a bit longer would be good. It's great to kind of be able to do that for the team.
And how cool would it be to be able to play in a test match?
Yeah, that would be amazing. That should be the next thing, is the regional test match series. Would be incredible. Just have that experience. So
the Enid Bakewell Shield, I'm going to call it.
Yes, there you go. You've started it. You can set it up.
Yeah, anything that's got Bakewell Enid in there, and I'm keen. Right, so Alex, have you got anything else to add on this one, or should we go for some quick fire?
Quick fire is not my specialty.
Don't worry, it's not stressful. So one we always like to start off with, a favourite of Hannah's, is what's your favourite sledge that you've either used or heard?
One that I remember, one of the Scotland girls shouting from the boundary, was just someone absolutely swung for it and missed it, and they were just like, swing harder! In a big Scottish accent coming right from the cow corner boundary.
Hannah's other favourite one is, what is your favourite tea item at a standard village cricket tea?
A cup of tea and sausage rolls.
Interesting. I was interested to see if there was going to be a different Scottish vibe on that one.
No, we're just quite standard. We don't have haggis and potatoes for teas in Scotland. Sorry.
I'll let you off. Are Eccles cakes Scottish?
I don't know. I think they're more kind of just North England.
No, close enough.
Yeah.
Okay. Last Netflix series you binged?
Oh, what was it called? Must have been good. Engage brain. Oh my goodness. What did I watch? Grey's Anatomy. Yeah.
We lost Alex. Last book you read?
How to Kill Your Family.
Oh, Bellamaki.
Yeah. It was very good. I told my mum and she was like, what is that about?
Yeah. If you didn't play cricket, what would you want to do?
Another sport, probably play golf, or another job. Like, quite enjoy teaching PE and stuff like that. Just playing sports with kids all day, basically, throwing frisbees and playing badminton with them, really.
Basically any job where you can just wear sports kit.
Yeah, definitely.
I always used to find that at school, we'd be running around playing lacrosse in like skirts and t-shirts, absolutely freezing, and the coaches would be like, oh, it's fine, you don't need to wear thermals, and they'd be in like every outfit ever, the massive coat, the hat, and you'd be like, great.
Yeah, great.
I can't feel my legs here right now.
Yeah, you take your shorts and put your t-shirt on and then you can say it's all right.
Yeah, I'm glad I fell in the mud because it's actually insulating my legs right now.
Keep you warm.
God, what a life. What's your go-to drink on a night out?
Gin and tonic.
Oh, nice. Any flavoured?
Not really. I do like the pink gins are quite nice, but also the Edinburgh rhubarb and ginger gin is
bloody love that one. Oh, yeah. Such a banger.
Yes.
Most embarrassing thing you've done on a cricket pitch? Or at training? One
of the first things that I ever did, it was like my first ever tour playing for Scotland under-17s in the warm-up. It was before I knew that you kind of put your spikes on to warm up. We were just doing some like leg swings and things like that, and I just kicked my leg up so high that I'm not flexible, so it just like flung me off my feet and just like landed straight on the ground. And that was one of the first things I did on tour, which was brilliant. Got off to a great start.
Oh yeah, the thing is then you're like, oh, I've already landed on my arse, so I can just go from here.
Yeah, exactly. Can't get much worse.
No, exactly. Oh, favourite person you've ever played against?
Probably Katherine Brunt.
And
with is more fun. Well, yeah, with is more fun, I think. But playing against is quite funny as well when she gets angry, because she gets angry at Nat for everything.
Have they got a bit of changing room banter, the two of them?
Yeah, definitely. Great fun. That just has a moment at the end and then she's like, okay, it's fine. I'm done.
Favourite ground you've played at?
Probably like properly played at. Trent Bridge is good. Enjoy kind of sort of at home. But training kind of on the Adelaide Oval was probably one of the best kind of surroundings.
Best, most proud moment in your cricket career?
Probably, I think a few years ago, kind of the 100 partnership between me and Sarah to beat Uganda in the fourth playoff of the global qualifiers.
Best friend in the Lightning team that's not your sister and is not Lucy Hyam?
Kirsty Gordon.
Fair enough. You two live together, don't you?
Yeah, we lived together and played together for under-17s for years as well. Yeah, so I'll get told off if I don't say her as well.
Yeah. If there was somewhere you could play, where would you want to be?
I think New Zealand, and that ground, it looks like it's in the middle of nowhere. It looks incredible.
Yeah, no, I can't remember where it is, but I know exactly where you mean. And also the whole tour that you get to do while you're in New Zealand.
Yeah, just everything you get to do.
Basically a trip to Hobbiton and you're set.
Yeah, there you go. Just a trip to New Zealand, really.
Yeah, sounds pretty good to me. I think we've just about covered everything. Alex, do you have any other ones to ask? We went through embarrassing moments, we went through favourite drinks, what to do if you weren't playing cricket.
I think that's pretty much it. Just quickly, Kathryn, this is something we asked all guests, and it is just simply, where can our guests find you on social media if they want to find out more about you being captain of Scotland, being captain of Lightning, and if they just want to, support you and your sister, basically?
You can find me on Twitter at Katherine_Bryce. And on Instagram, Katherine Bryce, but you'd probably be better off following other people because I don't post on there very often, get told off. So Cricket Scotland and then Lightning Cricket, I think with a 1 at the end of it, are probably the best places to find me.
Or you can find her on our other presenters' Instagram, Hannah. You can find her on Hannah's Instagram.
Hannah's probably posted about us as well. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Katherine, Bryce, superstar, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fab to catch up and hear all about your cricket life. Thank you for joining Women's Cricket Chat today. Thanks for being you. Thanks for everything you're doing for Cricket Scotland, at Lightning, in the 100. And we can't wait to see you guys out and about again when it eventually stops being storm. God only knows what's going on outside. And we get out for some summer cricket. So we will see you on the pitch, ball in hand, bat in hand, just loving life again this summer. And we look forward to it.
Thanks very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Massive thank you to Katherine for coming on and being a guest on the podcast. It was really interesting to hear what she had to say, also to find out some really interesting things, such as being the ICC Player of the Decade, being Scotland captain and only being 24, and what it's really like to work with her sister Sarah as a vice captain. Turns out they barely ever argue. And to all our listeners, if you want to keep up to date with everything that we're doing, you can follow us on Twitter at WCricketChat, on Instagram at Women's Cricket Chat, and if you want to give us a like on Facebook, we are Women's Cricket Chat. If you'd like to give our personal Twitters a follow, then it's at Hannity1194, at Georgia Heath 27, at Cassie Coombs 98, at Mehika Barshni, and I'm at Alex James Pereira. This has been the Women's Cricket Chat. Tune in next time.